Hello, my name is Michael Garvey. I'm the chairman of Buckinghamshire Business First, and this is the first in a series of interviews with business people across the county called Talking Heads. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Andreas Hohmann, who is the MD of Total Carbide. And we're going to have a chat for the next half an hour about some of the challenges that his business is facing, and obviously some of the successes as well, and some of the opportunities there are for businesses to be working within Buckinghamshire. So Andreas, welcome.
Hello, welcome.
It's lovely to meet you again. So we met briefly recently, didn't we? So Andreas is one of the new non-executive board members of Buckinghamshire Business First. And I've already had the opportunity of hearing from Andreas the journey that he's been on with his business. But this is the opportunity for the membership to hear more about that journey. So Andreas, perhaps you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Total Carbide.
Yeah, so my name is Andreas Hohmann. I'm managing director of Total Carbide. Total Carbide is a tungsten carbide manufacturer and was originally started up in Saunderton, near High Wycombe, and then moved to Princess Risborough and was known under the name Hohmann. So it's got a long history in Buckinghamshire. 6 years ago, the company needed to move premises to make space for developments near the railway station in Princess Risborough. So we moved to Westcott Venture Park, and we are now part of Westcott Space Cluster. Total Carbide is a tungsten carbide manufacturer. Tungsten carbide is very hard and therefore very wear resistant. And we make wear resistant parts to customer design for companies all over the world. So approximately 35% of what we make is export. The rest is UK, and the industries we're supplying are mainly oil and gas, aerospace, defense, and then a very wide variety of industries such as textile, cutting knives, engineers cutting tools, still some of them, and a tiny little bit of mining.
Okay, fantastic. So you're part of the Westcott sort of space cluster. Do you work within that sort of space sector? Are clients of yours in that sector? And why Westcott when you were looking to relocate?
So why Westcott for relocation? The answer is we needed a factory that was big enough to accommodate our existing business. We needed access to water for cooling our furnaces, and that exists in Westcott because it's got a cooling system. Because there's rocket fuel inside, and there's a system of hydrants, and has been there since the 1940s. So there's enough water, and we needed an environment away from housing, basically, because wherever you move a factory like this, people like the idea to have manufacturing, but they don't want it next to houses. And there's no danger. There's no danger at Westcott Venture Park that there will be any housing nearby, and people have noise through rocket testing and other industrial activities. And also we use, for example, hydrogen in our furnaces, and there's always been questions from people who live around the factory that there would be something exploding. And at Westcott, people understand that hydrogen is very safe, and if there was ever a leak, it will go up in the air. It's one of the safest gases, and the people who are around us, they handle rocket fuel, and they just can't understand why there should be an issue, and there isn't an issue. So we've gone in an environment with like-minded businesses and technical-minded businesses, and since we've moved, we've increased actually our business for aerospace and space, just because of the proximity and contacts we got here. So we're supplying Rolls-Royce aero engines, for example, and have done with balancing weights for fuel pumps, and now we are supplying propulsion nozzles, for example, for space propulsion. So.
Okay, so I was on the park last week actually. So my company, Chandler Garvey, advises Patrizia, who are the owners of the park, and it's fantastic to see. We were in the innovation centre. And it's fantastic to see the cluster developing. So Buckinghamshire clearly is a fabulous place to work and live. We all know that. We're great ambassadors. Why do you think it is so special though? So if you were sat in front of somebody who was thinking about relocating their business to Buckinghamshire, what do you think are the big headline attractions to a county like Buckinghamshire?
So so for us, there were very particular reasons, but that wouldn't be the person I would sit in front of. The person I would sit in front of, I would say, is access to technology. So we have the space cluster, we have Silverstone with technology. It really depends what sort of business it is. If I would sell at Buckinghamshire, if it's a finance business, so I would mention probably the proximity to London and the stock poker belt. And if it is a technology business, I probably would mention high tech, Silverstone, space cluster. But we've got a mixture of all of it. And on top of it is, of course, a very nice place to live. Yeah,
absolutely. So we've heard a bit about your business and what it does. So let's hear a bit about you then. So tell us your journey. I think clearly you've got a very strong engineering background. So maybe just tell us a bit about your journey and how you've got to where you are today.
So I'm originally from the east of Germany. I've been in the UK for 25 years approximately. And my background in Germany was I did an apprenticeship as an electrician. I was a soldier. I studied, I worked and studied in evening schools. I became a mechanical engineer. Then I worked for a steel company in production and maintenance, then in production. Then I started an IT business in the Czech Republic. It was after 1990. Came to UK eventually, found my wife, who was English, found myself a job in a company at the time called Hohmann, and was put through production. At the beginning, they didn't quite know what to make of me. They wanted someone for export. They thought if they employ a speaker of German, then that would be very good for export. So I started in production, a bit of export, then just became export sales manager. At the time, we were part of a group that was Howell Holdings PLC. So we had a company, Titman Tip Tools in Clacton-on-Sea, and company Richard Lloyd's Limited and Tenby Wells in the group. So I became export manager for the group. Then we couldn't quite make enough or products that were good enough. So I became a quality engineer as well. And then production manager, operations manager, and a few years ago, managing director of Total Carbide Limited. I'm not very, let's say, I'm not very conventional. As sort of, I don't see myself as a manager. I see myself as an engineer who is managing a business. And in my spare time, I'm a lecturer for engineering at the Open University.
Okay.
So I want to keep up my knowledge and what's going on, and I want to keep working with young people, because a lot of the engineering companies are the age profile is sort of towards the high end. So it's a lot of older people. I want to get young people into engineering, and
yeah. So I mean, clearly you have a passion for helping to develop young people through engineering careers. Where do you think that passion has come from, and what is your business doing to encourage young people to come through an engineering route?
Yeah, so it's come from, because it's very interesting. The engineering is very interesting. There are a lot of jobs around in finance and in accounts, and if I see young people coming up from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they do the job and they work for a big famous company, but they really don't like what they're doing, but it sounds good what they're doing. But and engineering is the other way around. It doesn't probably sound that great to the normal people, but it's very interesting. You're always thinking how to solve problems and to make things that get actually used, and I think that's where it comes from. And then probably through my own background, so it's served me well to go through the apprenticeship and further education route, and done an MBA later on, and I think it's a really worthwhile thing to do, engineering. And a country without engineering can work, of course, but something would be missing,
No, exactly, and I think there's been a lot of discussion over years, certainly within the UK, about the lack of engineers coming through, and obviously trying to get more sort of young girls, young people into engineering in particular. So obviously in the Buckinghamshire Business Awards, you did very well, of course, and won the sort of young people and working with apprentices award. So tell us a bit about the work that you've been doing over the last year or two that allowed you to win that award.
So actually I started making a real effort about 5 or 6 years ago, when we knew we would have a future and we would move to Westcott, and it was clear that we needed people. So I started at the time with ATG in Aylesbury, and with their help, for the first 2 apprentices. Unfortunately, they've shut down now, and it's all done by Activate and Oxford. And then it became clear that there wasn't a ready pipeline even for engineering apprentice applications. So we got in touch with schools, and we are taking interns who need some work experience, for example. But also we took some interns where young people do a BTEC in engineering, which is fully classroom based, but they still need some sort of experience. So that's the 2 type of internships we have: either schools, young people do work experience, usually 1 or 2 weeks, and the other type of interns are the BTEC 3 students, who are basically where schools or cash in on the money from the government to keep them longer in education, and they're going to BTEC in engineering, but they can't do anything actually. But they can tell you about it. They can talk better than me.
Right.
They would be better sitting here, but actually can't do anything. And that has been proven successful, that they then come back, or some of them, and they say, I know that company, I know they're offering apprenticeships, and that has been one of the reasons that we could attract them. The other thing we're doing is, of course, we work with universities, so which helps both of us. So at the moment we have 2 projects with Cranfield University. That's a UK rocket competition. It
Right.
closes the loop with the space cluster as well. And the other one is European rocket competition. And these are postgraduate students at Cranfield. And this is the 3rd time that I've been involved with it. So we built the actual rocket. So they're the clever ones that do the calculations. The rocket engines get brought in to keep the costs low and to have a certain standard. And then we make the rockets. That helps my apprentices to do something interesting, very interesting. It helps students, and it gives us access to universities. And we have another project with the Open University, for example. It's called Sprint, Space Research and Innovation Project, where we've made a ceramic material for throat nozzles, and this is just coming to an end. And that will be followed up then probably by making some throat nozzles for a company called Airborne Engineering, which is here on the park. They then put in their vertical landing rocket. All very exciting. People don't know that when they see Elon Musk rocket landing vertically. We have that here. It's a smaller one. It's the UK version. It's 2 meters high. The rocket. The other one is 20 meters high, but it exists already. So it's exciting. It's very good.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is incredibly exciting, and I think it's getting that message out to people that Buckinghamshire, it isn't a sleepy county, on the edge of London. That there's real business activity going on here, cutting edge technology, and obviously you've got the space cluster around Westcott, the high engineering cluster around Silverstone, and obviously film and television around the sort of the Pinewood cluster. So there's some really exciting things going on, and so probably leads me into talking about your desire to join the board of Buckinghamshire Business First. and you've just literally in the last week or two had your appointment confirmed, which is very exciting. It's fantastic to have an engineer on board. We try to have a diverse range of business and business people representing the businesses, the business membership. So we know about some of the challenges that business are facing, and obviously some of the opportunities as well. Just thinking about the general business community in Buckinghamshire, though, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges at the moment?
I think the challenges are different depending on what sector you're in. But our challenges here at Westcott are, from a point of view of the venture park and the space cluster, to get in enough power supply. So the power supply that comes into the park is very old. It's 60, 70 years old. And if the park wants to grow, or the cluster wants to grow, they need more energy. Also, they have solar panels and they make some of the energy themselves. But if you see that huge space, there's something we need to do. Then mobile phone signal is a problem in our area.
Right.
And of course, fiber optic broadband is being rolled out at the moment in some areas of North Buckinghamshire. So in a way, we are sort of North Buckinghamshire, and it's probably not as super very good as maybe in the south of Buckinghamshire. But so these are general things like infrastructure. The other challenges are, of course, to attract talent and to attract the right people into the business. So being in the area helps, but they still don't just come to us. So we need to do something. We need to create opportunities. At Westcott, we're thinking about having an academy or having some form of a training facility. It's probably still a few years ahead, but it's something we really want to be part of.
Would that be something that you would develop yourself, or as part of the cluster?
That would probably be the cluster. It would be the companies who are members of the cluster. There would be companies that are in the area and not members of the cluster, because there's still companies like Green Retreats over here who are providing a lot of jobs. They're doing very good things, and because they have nothing to do with space and a part of space cluster, but they're still part of the business community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or Box Recycling or EcoPack, which are all our suppliers and our people who we work together. Yeah, very exciting, very good.
Yeah, no, as I say, I think there's lots of really exciting things going on. There are a lot of challenges, though, facing the business community as we emerge from the pandemic. So sort of thinking ahead then to opportunities. So I think you're doing some work now within the defence industry, which is very exciting, I think, for your business. Where do you see the big opportunities? So we know what some of the challenges are. I suppose, we're as a nation, sort of gone through the whole Brexit situation. I think we're sort of trying to stand on our own feet a little bit more. You mentioned about more engineers needed within the economy. How do you see the sort of the next 2 or 3 years in terms of opportunities, though?
The next 2 or 3 years, the opportunities that we see here is for us as a business is new materials. So tungsten carbide has been around for 100 years approximately. It's not very long in the history of mankind, but it's long in technology, and it's still got its place. But for us, it's ceramics and it's new materials, putting in some 2D materials like hexagonal boron nitride, for example, and it's done in the industries which are growing. So for us, where we are based, space is growing. There's a lot of funding going into it, but eventually it needs to find its own feet, and there needs to be some returns from it. But be part of that journey. At the moment, we have an ongoing business with tungsten carbide that's making us a profit, but we need to look at new things that fit in with our skill set and fit in with the investment that we're going to do. and going to make. And yeah, for us, it's new materials, precision engineering, the high added value technologies, because of yeah, just of the situation we're in, and yeah, and skills and education, you know, and having the universities and pull it all together. The universities nearby, get them to teach the things that we want our people to know. So I'm on the board of Activate Learning in Oxford, the engineering board. So I'm not complaining that they teach apprentices the wrong things. I'm going there and I want to help to do the right things that we need. You know, it's easy to complain about things, but you should be there to make it better. You know.
Yeah, you know, and I think there are lots of business people in the county like you who are prepared to step up and get involved and help out. And I think sort of Buckinghamshire Business First has been a great umbrella organisation for encouraging people to do that. So just thinking then about those opportunities, how much of your work is overseas? How much of your products are being exported? Presumably quite a significant amount.
It's approximately 35% at the moment.
Okay. And you're looking to grow that, are you?
We're always looking to grow that. It's got two sides to it. So with having left the European Union, we can now import, for example, tungsten carbide without tariffs, whilst Europe is protecting their manufacturers. We're not protected anymore, which will make us stronger, you know, because our customers can buy it cheaper now.
Right. Okay.
And therefore, we need to step up and we need to get stronger, need to get better to compete. And in our own market, and as we get stronger in our own markets, then we'll be in a better place to be stronger all over the world. We're exporting mainly to developed countries, to industrial countries, and but they're going to change. So other countries are getting stronger. India, for example, who we didn't sell anything to 10 years ago, is one of our biggest export markets now.
Okay.
And hopefully a trade deal with India will help us there to improve. It's coming. It's very close. Hasn't quite happened yet. Yeah, so I think we look out for advantages that we can take, and we'll do anything really. We didn't have a problem leaving Europe because we've been exporting all over the world anyway. So it's just now a few more countries need the same procedures that we were doing before. Some countries, so that's not a problem. It's the challenge for us is to how do we make the business more modern, and what way do we go, and how do we secure investment to the right things for the right technology for the future.
Yeah.
So at the moment, there's bespoke items to customer design, and because we do that, and a lot of big manufacturers don't want to do that. They want to manufacture something. They have efficiency for big batch sizes. We make small batches. We work with customers in their design.
Right. Yeah.
And just for us, the next step is do it in a different material. You know.
Yeah, I was looking at your website, and you seem to have a very sort of personal approach to, you know, working with customers very closely, as you've explained, working on sort of smaller maybe smaller batches, smaller products, but you know, adding real value. That added value piece is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very important, and it's similar with other companies, especially at Silverstone. You know, they do things for motorsport, but they do many other things. But their approach is very similar, and we work with some of them, so it's very good. So that's
yeah. So within your industry, sort of technology, as you say, it's just moving on faster and faster, isn't it? How do you keep pace with that? I mean, obviously you're creating some of the technology yourself, aren't you? So how do you see technology changing over the coming years? Are there some big things going on in terms of technological development that really will be game changers? I mean, that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but the pace of change is so significant. How do you keep up with it?
So as a person, up with it by teaching at the university and
Right.
being involved in research projects. And also, you know, we exchange information at Westcott, so we've got monthly meetings. So that's the informal mostly, where people present what they're doing, what their business is doing, and that is like not very structured, but it's still happening, it's still ongoing. And then how you keep up as a business is we're part of a group, Vasarian PLC group of companies. And they're into graphene, so they're into two-dimensional materials. They see themselves as a material development group and bringing new materials to market. By the very nature of the group that we belong to, we're always looking out for new things. So for me, the challenge is actually to secure investment within the group, as well as investment within the region or the area. And this should keep you on your toes, you know, if you're surrounded by that drive. So I have competition with competitors for tungsten carbide. I've got competition for investment within the own group of companies, right. You know, with the owners and with the investors. And I think being competitive actually and fighting for it, I think, and having the competition, I think that puts you in a good position. Funding is very good, but sometimes you see funding being wasted. If people are happy to get funded for something and nothing comes of it, I think that the competitive element is very important, that you have to bring results. You can see that in space. You can see that some private businessman going into space and have achieved something in 3 or 5 years, where government-funded huge organizations took 50 years to achieve the same thing. So it's always, you know, follow the business, follow the money, follow the competitiveness, and I think that's the way to go, I think.
Brilliant. So we're just coming to the end of the interview now, and I was going to ask you actually, you know, what sort of message do you have for the business community of Buckinghamshire? Obviously, you've just joined the board of Buckinghamshire Business First. You're very active within the business community. So what's a parting message for other businesses within the county who aren't perhaps as engaged with Buckinghamshire Business First as your business is?
So, as a member of the board, I want to represent the region of North Buckinghamshire, because it's not very well represented. Milton Keynes and engineering and manufacturing as an industry, and also the maybe defense relationships to defense companies and so on. Yeah, my message is just keep going and you know, get your young people involved. You know, get them excited. If the older generation maybe gets a bit tired and a bit lazy, get the young people on and show them how excited it can be, and it pays back. It definitely pays back. It's be positive. You know, that's my message.
Great, thank you. So it's been lovely speaking with you. Thank you for your time. Fascinating to hear about all of your successes, and I'm certainly looking forward to working with you as part of the BBF board. So Andreas, thank you very much.